At my son's wedding, he looked straight at me and said, "Take those stupid medals off your suit. You're embarrassing me." When I refused, he hit me right there in front of hundreds of people. Then a Navy SEAL stepped in, grabbed his wrist, and said 8 words that made the entire room fall silent. If you stay with me through this story, you'll understand why that moment changed everything. And if you want, you can even tell me where you're listening from. I still find it hard to believe how far this story has traveled. I never imagined that my own son would be the one to hurt me like this. I'm 61 years old. I've survived 3 deployments in Afghanistan. I've seen friends die beside me. I carry injuries that still ache when the weather changes. But none of that compares to what happened that night at Marvin's wedding. The Belmont Country Club looked perfect, like something out of a magazine. The chandeliers glowed softly, lighting up a room filled with about 300 well-dressed guests. People laughed, glasses clinked, and everything seemed elegant and calm. I stood near the bar, adjusting my dress uniform. The navy blue fabric felt familiar, almost comforting. The medals on my chest had weight, not just physically but emotionally. Each one meant something. Each one had a story. Then I heard his voice. "Dad, what are you wearing?" It cut through the noise like a knife. I turned and saw Marvin walking toward me. His face was tight, filled with something I didn't recognize at first. Then I realized it was disgust. His wife, Melissa, followed behind him, her heels tapping lightly on the floor. "It's my dress uniform," I said calmly. "Well, you thought wrong," he snapped. "This is my wedding, not a military event." I noticed the conversations around us starting to fade. People were turning to look. I could feel their attention shifting toward us. "Marvin," I said, trying to stay steady, "these medals represent embarrassment," he interrupted, stepping closer. I could smell alcohol on his breath. "Look around you, Dad. These people matter. CEOs, investors, important connections. They don't want to see some old man playing soldier." His words hit me hard. Playing soldier. I looked down at my medals. I remembered carrying Sergeant Martinez through gunfire. I remembered the explosion that tore into my shoulder. These weren't decorations. They were pieces of my life. "I wore this uniform to your biggest moments," I said quietly. "Your graduation, your promotion." "And it was embarrassing then, too," he said loudly. More people turned to watch. "I've worked hard to build my life. I won't have you making me look like I come from nothing." Melissa tried to calm him. "Marvin, maybe we should just—" "No," he said, shaking her off. "This ends now. Take those medals off or I'll have you thrown out." The room had gone completely quiet. Hundreds of eyes were on us. I felt heat rise inside me, not from shame, but from something deeper. "No," I said. "What?" I said no. "They stay." His expression darkened, like when he was a kid who didn't get his way. But this wasn't about toys anymore. "You're just jealous," he said. "You can't stand that I succeeded without you, that I'm something, and you're just nothing now." That hurt more than anything. I thought about all the extra shifts I worked to pay for his education, the chances I gave up just to be there for him, everything I did so he could have a better life. "I'm proud of you," I said softly. "I always have been. I just wanted you to be proud of me too." He laughed. It wasn't a warm laugh. It was cold. "Proud of you? You're stuck in the past. Nobody cares about those wars anymore. You're just sad." And then it happened. He pulled back his fist and hit me, right in the face. The sound echoed across the room. I stumbled, tasting blood. My lips split against my teeth. I heard gasps. Someone screamed, but all I could do was look at him. This man who looked like my son but felt like a stranger. "Security!" he shouted, fixing his tie like nothing had happened. "Get him out of here!" 2 men started walking toward me. I didn't even try to move. Then a voice rang out. "Nobody touches that man." It was loud, firm and impossible to ignore. A tall man pushed through the crowd. He wore an expensive suit, but there was something about him. Something strong, controlled. His eyes were sharp and full of anger. He reached us quickly and grabbed Marvin's wrist just as he raised his hand again. The grip was strong, unbreakable. "You," the man said calmly, "just made the biggest mistake of your life." The room froze. I wiped blood from my mouth with shaking hands. Everyone was watching now, completely silent. Marvin tried to pull away. "Let go of me." "Not until you apologize," the man replied. "Apologize?" Marvin laughed nervously. "Do you even know who I am?" "I know exactly who you are," the man said. "What you don't know is who he is." I felt something heavy in my chest. For years, I had kept quiet. I didn't talk about my service much. I didn't want to make Marvin feel small. I didn't want to seem like I was bragging. I remembered a dinner years ago when Marvin had brushed off my military career like it was nothing. I had stayed quiet then, too. I thought I was doing the right thing. But maybe I was wrong. Maybe by staying silent, I had allowed him to forget. The man still held Marvin's wrist, his expression unchanging. "This man," he said slowly, "is the reason people like you get to stand here and celebrate your success in peace." Marvin stopped smiling. "You think those medals are for show?" the man continued. "Each one represents something you couldn't even imagine. Sacrifice. Pain. Courage." The room felt different now. People weren't just watching. They were understanding. "You don't deserve to wear that name," he added quietly. "Not after what you just did." Marvin looked around, and for the first time he seemed unsure. And in that moment I realized something. It wasn't the punch that hurt the most. It was everything that led up to it. "It's only a ceremony. I'll understand," he had said. But I could hear the pain hidden under his calm voice. I could tell how much it truly meant to him, even though he didn't say it clearly. So I refused the promotion, stayed back for his graduation, and watched him walk across that stage with a kind of pride that filled my heart completely. He hugged me afterward and told me he was happy I had stayed. For one perfect moment, I truly believed I had made the right decision. Now, standing in this ballroom with a split lip and a heavy feeling of shame inside my chest, I wondered if he even remembered that day. I wondered if any of the things I had given up for him had ever meant anything at all. "Sir, are you okay?" I blinked and came back to the present. Richardson was looking at me with real concern in his eyes. Marvin had pulled himself free and was fixing his jacket, his face red with anger and maybe something else, maybe fear. "I'm fine," I said, though my voice sounded empty even to me. "No," Richardson replied firmly. "You're not fine. And this—" He looked around the ballroom. "This is not fine either." Melissa gently pulled on Marvin's sleeve. "Baby, maybe we should just—" "Just what?" Marvin snapped, turning his anger toward her. "Let some washed-up veteran ruin our wedding? This is supposed to be our special day, and he's turning it into some pathetic show to get attention." His words hit me hard, like real blows. Attention-seeking. That's what he believed. That I had worn my uniform just to take attention away from him, just to make his wedding about me. I remembered that morning. I had stood in front of the mirror for almost 20 minutes, choosing between my dress uniform and a simple black suit. I had picked the uniform because I wanted to respect the occasion. I wanted to honor his big day. I wanted to look like someone he could feel proud to call his father. Instead, I had become someone he was ashamed of. "Marvin," I said softly, my voice barely rising above the quiet whispers now filling the room. "I never meant to embarrass you. I just wanted—" "You wanted to show off," he interrupted sharply. "You wanted people to look at you and think about your so-called glory days because you can't accept that your own son has done better than you ever did. Better than I ever did." Those words repeated in my mind as I looked around the room. Marble floors, shining chandeliers, guests in expensive suits and elegant dresses. This was Marvin's world now. A world where success was measured by money, promotions, and business deals. In this world, my bronze stars, my purple heart, my combat badge, they were nothing more than old decorations. Pieces of metal from a life that no longer mattered. As I stood there, feeling smaller than I ever had in my 61 years, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. Richardson's expression had changed. His eyes were no longer calm. They were sharp, cold, almost dangerous. He was staring at Marvin in a way that felt like a warning. "You really don't know who your father is, do you?" Richardson asked quietly. Marvin gave a small scoff. "I know exactly who he is. He's Kenneth Walsh, retired Army. Lives on a pension in a small apartment because he never figured out how to make real money." Richardson's jaw tightened. "Your father is Sergeant Kenneth Walsh, Bronze Star with V device, Purple Heart, Combat Action Badge. And you—" His voice dropped slightly. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." There was something in his tone that made the back of my neck tighten. This wasn't just someone defending an old soldier. This felt personal. Richardson knew things about my service that almost nobody knew. The way he said my name, my rank, my medals, it sent a strange chill through me, especially when he mentioned the V device. Very few people knew about that small detail. It wasn't something you could easily find. Marvin's confident look faded just a little. "Look, Mr. Richardson, I appreciate you trying to defend my father, but—" "Defend him?" Richardson let out a short, sharp laugh. "Son, I'm not defending him. I'm trying to stop you from making this even worse." By now, people had started gathering around us. Conversations had quieted, and more guests moved closer, curious about what was happening.